Welcome back to The Short Code, coming to you from the amazing and intense world of medical school at the University of Iowa Carver College of Medicine. I'm Dave Etler, and I'm here with my medical student co-hosts. Hi there, M2 Megan Perry.
What's up?
Hi, M2 Cassidy Brady.
Hello.
Hello, M2 Srishti Mather.
Hi.
And howdy, M1 Megan Amon.
Howdy.
We're talking with students who want to go into rural medicine. And we talked about the statistics, which indicate that there's a lot of need for rural physicians to practice in rural areas. I want to talk about your ideas or ideas you've heard that would help decrease the healthcare disparities between rural and urban areas. What have you heard about as ways that this country can target physician shortages in rural areas?
I mean, we talked a little bit earlier about some incentive programs that are done around the country, depending on the state or different, probably grants and things that are available to different areas.
A lot of it seems to revolve around money.
Yeah.
Doesn't it always?
I mean, yeah.
Typical.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. So I was in Ecuador over the summer, and they have a mandatory rural service requirement for all of their general doctors after they finish their intern year, basically. And that was really interesting to see. And I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are on that, because on the one hand, like, you're filling spots in these rural communities that really need providers, but then on the other hand, you maybe aren't getting providers that want to be there. And it's interesting to see how that kind of plays into patient interactions and care that's given. So I'm just curious your guys' thoughts.
When you were there, do you think you saw like providers who clearly did not want to be there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And like, would you see that that affected their the care? I'm just asking out of
curiosity. I'm trying to
think.
There was one provider that was like, he was from the coast, which is very urban, and he was like, I can't wait to go home, that kind of thing. But he was also simultaneously a really great provider.
Okay.
So I guess maybe that was more a problem of, okay, well, when he leaves, what happens? Because he's gonna leave.
Right.
There was definitely other people that were kind of like, okay, I'm just here to like check the box of being here for a year. At the same time.
Yeah. So this arrangement is common throughout the world from my research. Places like, China, Thailand, there's another place, India. I mean, there's all over the world. There's these sort of incentive programs. And one of the, problems with the incentive programs is that they position people in these rural areas when they don't necessarily want to be there.
Yeah.
And so it's good for that, but then they leave eventually. And so it's not it doesn't seem like a long-term solution for a lot of places.
I wonder if the thinking behind that is, if we get them here, we at least have care for a year, or if we get them here, maybe they'll like it and they want to stay.
Right.
I think they're hoping for the second one.
Probably, yeah.
I'd be interested to see if there are any statistics on like the amount of people who actually choose to stay then afterwards in those regions.
Mm-hmm.
I think, I feel like people that don't want to do rural medicine, that's not really something they change their mind about. And I don't know if that's...
Yeah, well, some of these places have compulsory requirements, like Ecuador, it sounds like.
Yeah.
And even then, it's like, okay, I got to do it. I'm going to go do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But then you could argue that even, our family medicine rotations, where we're required to go to a under-resourced community in Iowa, that's mandatory. That's just during our medical education. And I bet that we probably have a lot of students in our class that are thinking the same thing of, oh man, I have to go to a community hospital and I don't want to be there. But I would be interested to see if that genuinely like changes people's minds in perspective on family practice and that kind of thing.
At minimum though, like I do see the value in at least how our school does it of like teaching the next generation of providers, like these are some of the challenges that are faced. These are some of the skills that you need, like you were talking about earlier about like, you have to meet your patients in the middle. I think those are skills that are uniquely found in rural medicine that you can't find necessarily as easily in other parts, that I think make it beneficial for education.
Well, because let's face it, even if you work in an academic medical center in some city, people are going to travel to you for certain issues that they can't manage elsewhere. And so it does help to know like what that's like where
Right.
they're from.
Yeah. And I think that's a huge point, right? Because we're talking about how there's shortages, right, of not only primary care physicians in rural areas, but
Yeah.
even more so in specialty. So where are those rural patients going to go? They're going to have to go to the urbanized areas. So personally, I think it's almost just because you're not working maybe in a rural area
Yeah.
does not mean that not half or majority of your patients that you're going to see are from rural. Because, you know, we just talked about these patients from the rural area are the ones most likely to have these extra disease processes going on and stuff that probably is going to require a specialist at some point. So it's kind of inevitable that you're going to see this type of patient population. So I think like switching the idea of, oh, I have to go here to learn how to work with this patient population. It's like that the fact of where you're at is almost not as important as the patient population you're
Yeah.
going to be interacting with, because that population's going to go where it needs to go to get the care that it needs. And that doesn't always happen, obviously, hence why we have issues with access and stuff. But I think it's a really big emphasis to just focus on getting people exposed to these different types of patient populations so that no matter where they are working at, they're prepared and experienced to work with that type of population.
Yeah. I think it's cool too that we kind of, I mean, yes, we like have to go do it, but from my perspective, we get to go
Yeah.
live in this other community in
Yeah.
Iowa. Not from Iowa, not really that familiar with any of these, but you just get to like learn the culture of the community, which I think, especially from people not from rural areas, would be so helpful when you do eventually go, like when those patients come to you in your specialty clinic.
Yeah.
Knowing where they come from and why they believe certain ways, I think will be very helpful.
Like everything else in med school, you really have to, or in school in general, you really have to sort of commit yourself to the idea of participating fully in the activities that you are required to do, and just be like, there's a reason I'm supposed to do this.
Yeah.
Right. There's a method to the madness.
There's a method to the madness. You may not, I mean, it may not be the thing that you exactly wanted to do, but you might as well enjoy it to the extent that you can, and you know, not be down on it just because that's not what you want to do forever, you know?
Yeah. They're trust the process for sure.
Little
I
bit.
feel like we say that all the time.
Yeah.
We're like, dang, they really knew what they were doing here.
Yeah. Like,
It's hard, I think, for certain people, like when they come in to, because med students, I feel like, are analysts at
Yeah.
heart. And a lot of times you're like trying to figure out, why the hell am I learning this?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
why is this important?
There's just so much information that there is a bit of it has to be like a base level of prioritization
Yeah.
to us of like what is high yield for
Yeah.
us. And I feel like that can
Love
get
that phrase.
applied to this very easily. There's a lot of people who are going to be like, what is the yield of going to a rural population if I think I'm going to be a super specialist, like a super
Yeah.
specialized specialist? Thank you.
that was great. Something about that was like really like satisfying to hear. I don't know. Yeah.
Like I understand exactly
Yeah.
what you're saying.
Oh.
Super.
Thank you, Dave. But yeah, I think like that's part of it. But like you were saying, like part of med school is realizing that like the people who created our curriculum worked really hard to make it as high yield as possible.
Yeah. And even somebody coming in who knows a lot. I mean, there's still a lot of things that you don't know about the practice of medicine. Still things that you need to find out.
Yeah.
So many things.
And I think about it too in the same way of like, I don't think I'm going to go maybe into emergency medicine, but like maybe I can just go enjoy my clinical and know that it's the only time I'll ever really get to see it and learn it and do the things, you know?
That really is the
So-
best viewpoint, I think.
I love
Yeah.
that perspective.
I'm dreading surgery, but I have it up first. And like I don't think I'm gonna be a surgeon, but I still see the value in it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like you need to know something
Why do
about
we
it.
even need surgery?
Yeah, I don't know.
I was thinking about that too. I'm like, surgery sounds scary, but I get to relearn anatomy again.
Right.
And that's going to be awesome because I
Right.
wish I knew more.
Yeah.
There's a new $50 billion program created by the U.S. Senate this fall as a response to the reduction in Medicaid spending that became law this summer. The intention is to help rural hospitals improve delivery and quality of care. The expectation is that states will invest the money in ideas and programs that will transform their healthcare systems. So not to pay off old debts or anything like that. They'll use this money to, make things better. Half the money will be distributed equally to states that apply. The other half will be distributed at the discretion of Mehmet Oz's Center for Medicaid Services. How much states get depend on whether states reestablish the presidential fitness test, which I can remember from my days as a child, require physicians to take continuing education on nutrition, and bar low-income people from using food stamps to purchase non-nutritious, quote-unquote, foods. Politico's blog describes it as a Hunger Games competition, rushed and with no guardrails, including that no one has defined what rural means for the purposes of this legislation. But again, throwing money at the problem is the thing that's the easiest to try, I guess.
Yeah, God forbid we use critical thinking.
Do you think current medical education is conducive to providers entering rural practice? I mean, it's kind of hard to tell from our position here at Iowa, because that is obviously an important endpoint for education in Iowa, is to make physicians who want to practice in Iowa, which is largely rural. But what do you think about medical education, sort of the sort of incentives that medical education offers to students to practice medicine, or convincing them? I'm not really sure what I'm asking here.
I'm not sure what you're asking, honestly.
Just make some shit up.
Okay.
I did my part. I spoke words.
What I think is interesting is the part where you said that it's like physicians would have to undergo mandatory, like, what was it?
Nutritional training.
Nutritional training. I think that's really important.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I feel like food is the basis of so many issues, and not necessarily, I mean, of course, there's access issues and all those things, but I think that if we can, it's more of like preventative care, which I think in rural medicine is so important. So I like that piece of it.
So I was thinking about, go ahead.
I have beef with the low income individuals should not be able to use food stamps to access non-nutritional food. I think that's that's not the source of the issue. The source of the issue is an apple is $5 and a bag of chips is $2.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the beef I have with that.
Yeah.
Of we're not going to the seed of the problem, which are these social determinants of health. We're putting a Band-Aid on it and putting the blame on these low income individuals instead of the systems that have led them to that.
Yeah, you're penalizing the people that then are having to pay more for less food.
Yeah.
When it's a product of the system that they're in.
I'm also not sure about the non-nutritious
Okay.
idea.
Who decides what
exactly?
that is?
That's sort of not well defined in this law. And also, I'm going to out myself here. I love me a good slice of Kraft cheese.
Oh, yeah.
Slices, right? It's good for putting on eggs. It's good for a grilled cheese sandwich.
Cheese, yeah.
Melts like crazy. Delicious, in my opinion. And it's made of different kinds of cheeses, so that like cheese that you would go, oh, that's real cheese. Like Colby, Jack, and cheddar and all this kind of stuff. It's just all ground up together and in a way that makes it, melty and good.
Preserved.
But I have a feeling that a lot of people would be like, yeah, there's that.
I'm with you. I'm full-heartedly with you.
It's got sodium citrate in it, which, sounds like, oh, sodium, that's a chemical. We don't want chemicals. But, table salt is a chemical,
Right.
We're all chemicals.
Yeah. I was thinking that too. I mean, a piece of bread, objectively not that nutritious. You put some meat and cheese and vegetables on there. There you go.
Suddenly there's
a balanced meal.
Yeah. I don't know. I did particularly look that up this week because I was like, what are we talking about? And I was trying to think, what's the worst food? And the thing that I thought of was this, processed cheese food.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of discussion about over-processed. Or, what do they call it? Is it over-processed?
Yeah, processed foods.
Yeah.
Ultra processed is what the current jargon is. And I'm like, okay, well, what is ultra processed? And I was like, okay, cheese. Let's look at this quote unquote cheese. And I learned a few things about what it is. I always imagined it was just a bunch of oil and alien chemicals that
That actually makes me feel better about eating Kraft or Kraft cheese.
Yeah. Mac and cheese. Kraft mac and cheese.
Also great. Sorry.
Not a sponsor, but
Yeah.
One of the things I always hear a lot, and I see this on TikTok, and I heard this when I was at Miko, is this thing of the US has less regulations on our food quality. And then you'll hear people who say, like, I went to Europe and I ate what I thought was like trash for a month and I lost 50 pounds because their food has more regulations regarding the amount of processing they have. And then they bring those ideas back, which, like, agree with that. The quality of our food is bad because of the level of processing it goes through. That is one statement. But then it then becomes a thing of, if you eat processed food, you are a bad person.
Right.
And that doesn't take into account all of the other reasons which might lead you to eat those processed foods.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about earlier. Just
Ease
like
of accessibility.
ease of
expense.
accessibility. It's cheaper. You can find it everywhere.
If
More
you
calories for your dollar.
Right, exactly.
and if you're living in a rural area and it takes you forever to get to a grocery store, or it takes you like more gas, or it's harder to go all the time, you're gonna keep buying things that stay good for longer. Which,
Yeah,
guess
right.
what?
That's going to be
They're
preserved.
preserved.
Yeah.
100%.
processed.
And that's why we have like full-blown dinners with Casey's Pizza from the local gas station.
And they're great. And they're fantastic.
Don't shit on Casey's Pizza.
No, their breakfast
Breakfast
man,
pizza.
it's fire.
Top
But
notch.
I'm saying when I go back home to visit my dad, if you on a weekday didn't have your own groceries or whatever, you're going to the local bar where they can maybe make you a pizza, or you're going to the gas station and buying some pre-wrapped something made like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's the option, on those days. So it can get really difficult when it comes to ease of use, accessibility, honestly. And does it taste good too? 'Cause,
It does. Yeah. Yeah.
They make it taste good. So like, why wouldn't we eat it?
Yeah.
Right. It everything is
There's
going
a
against us. with
lot
that
of
system.
competition
Right.
for
Yeah.
And
the idea of nutritious
Right.
good food.
Yeah.
And I think then somehow this gets distorted into people in rural communities specifically are less intelligent, or they like care about their health less because they are eating these foods, which is not the case. It is simply what they have access to.
When you think about practicing rurally, what are the pros and cons? I mean, you guys want to do this, but there's also, you're thinking about pros and cons. Go take me through that a little bit.
Money.
Yeah.
I'm-
It doesn't pay as much.
You get paid less a lot of the time. Not always, but there is a chance that you get paid less.
I would also opposite that. The incentives that we talked about are kind of nice. And I don't think it's a reason that most people choose to go there, but it's kind of like it helps, I think, keep your vision towards primary care and like going back to your small towns rather than specializing at an academic center.
Yeah.
I think something that could be really frustrating with primary care, though, in a small town is your lack of access to the other external resources. You need to get someone to see a specialist. I mean, try and get into the dermatologist here, let alone in a small town. I mean,
Yeah.
you're waiting well over a year. And so I think things like that get really frustrating very quickly. But that also, I think, lets you have more of a widespread practice because you see little spots. You just scrape them off yourself instead of waiting for a year to send them to the dermatologist. So I think you get to do a little bit more, which is cool. But I could also see that very quickly becoming very frustrating and semi-concerning for your patients.
I would like to hear, I'm sure you guys don't have this off the top of your head, but like the rise of telehealth seemed to promise that people in rural areas could access specialists in some circumstances when they were needed. And I would be curious to find out if that's a real thing, or if that's moved the needle any.
I think it has. I think there have been some statistics to show that it has. I don't think it's enough to solve the whole problem.
Yeah, because after all, I mean, if you need a melanoma removed, you're
Right. There's only
can't
so
do
much
that
you can
over-
do.
yeah.
telehealth.
Yeah.
I think one thing that could be really used beneficial with the telehealth is not necessarily patient to physician interaction, but physician to physician.
Physician.
My goodness.
Welcome to
I
my
got you.
world.
Yes, words are hard.
Yeah.
But basically, a physician to physician, right? So to try to help your patient by not having them go to the specialist, we're talking about like lack of resources, right? Where you're kind of have a smaller team, you're in a rural area, you might be calling a lot of the shots, making a lot of decisions, but you're doing so much. There's no way that you can't know everything. Right. So by being able to use telehealth to kind of collaborate with some of the specialists that are away in more urban areas, that might offer you the opportunity to provide the specific care that patient needs and thus avoid their having to go travel to go see the specialist, if you can kind of somehow in a way be the mediator between the two.
That's so funny. I got a call from my dad the other day, and it was on my birthday, so I thought he was just gonna do like the whole, happy birthday, whatever thing. No, he's like,
Forgot
hey,
it was your birthday.
Yeah, he forgot you, bro.
do you still have like contacts with like the hemonc team there? And I was like, yeah, I know like a couple docs here, whatever. And he starts telling me about this like case that he has, and he now works not even in our community hospital. He works in an even smaller hospital in a more rural town about 3 hours away from my hometown. Very, very small hospital. He alternates with like 2 other internal med docs, is on for 1 week, goes out, lives at the hospital for a week, and then is off for 2, which is really interesting. And none of them knew what was going on with this patient. And he's like, do you think you could like ask someone in Iowa for me?
That's cute.
Yeah, it was really wholesome. And then he was like, okay, I'll let you get back to your birthday. So he did know.
Yeah.
He did know. I was wondering if he was going to sneak it in there. No, I love him. But yeah, I think stuff like that is so valuable. And I just wish there was like a more, I guess I don't really know how streamlined it is for people.
There was a clinic I worked at during my gap years, and they focused on geriatric medicine, but they had something similar to that where they had like e-consults available where like as the scribe I would take the picture of the dermatology issue and then upload it and then send it off to the ether, and then the ether would come back with, oh, that's a cancer or something like that. But
really
and like they had like a integrated system, but like that one was really cool. The issue with that is, like they had to build this up from the ground. Like they had some like 200 consults available.
Yeah.
But it was an effective method of doing that.
Cool. I mean, even when I was in Ecuador too, they were so funny. They were calling a doctor from University of Vermont to have them advise on a case, and they were trying to use us as translators, and all of us were like, we really don't speak that good of Spanish.
Yeah,
I don't know that this is going to go
not
well.
a good idea.
Yeah. But it was cool. And I just think that there's so many similarities between global health and rural health. A lot of the disparities that you see are the same. A lot of the patient populations are really similar. And I think some of that, just like there's such interplay in all of that, and a lot of room for expansion and learning from one to the other, in my opinion.
Well, Shortcoats, if you have something you want to say about today's show, about something you want to hear someday, question you have, go to shortcoat.com/tell us. And send me a message, or like, comment, and subscribe if you're watching on video. Otherwise, that's our show. Until next time, I'm Dave Etler saying, don't let the bastards get you down. Say bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.